good. We're on webinar number 4. Yes, I'm feeling good, kind of.
That's what's up. Hey, welcome back, everyone. I see some names up in here that have been with us since Wednesday. So just appreciating y'all so much. And tap in with your family. You know, if you're a co-op or collective or folks that, you know, feel like they need to be here, hit them up, let them know. We're getting started. Hop on.
That's right.
So this is webinar 4 of a 5 webinar series, as y'all know, of our 3rd annual Pan-African Black Solidarity Cooperative Conference. And I'm feeling good. I feel like we've gone through so much of what we need to discuss, and I'm just looking forward to what's coming next.
That's right. And please make sure you guys join us tomorrow. You know, we've been pre-recorded these last few days. Tomorrow, we're going to be live and direct. We're going to have some performances and have some great conversation. So don't forget to register and tell your friends to register for tomorrow.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be discussing some of the challenges as well as the network of support that Black cooperatives and collectives need. And follow all of these notes on our Jamboard. We got introduced to the Jamboard, some of us for the first time on Wednesday, and a link is going to be dropped in the chat right about now. And you guys can click on it, head over to the Jamboard and ask our icebreaker question today, which is, what challenges make practicing self-care difficult? We've been answering a lot of self-care questions as our icebreaker, and we want to bring that energy of health and wellness into all of our organizations and our collective work. So Aj, what makes it difficult for you to practice?
One of the ways that it's difficult for me to practice self-care is just having a lot on my plate and, you know, needing support from people close to me. You know, I work to be a selfless person as much as possible. And sometimes, you know, you need that back. You need someone also to consider your needs, because you may not do that. You may not keep that on the top of your mind. So it's just, sometimes I need help with my own self-care, just to be truthful with you.
Yeah, that resonates a lot with me. I had to think about this. The thing that really makes it difficult for me is transitions. Like if I'm in a routine, let's say, for example, as a student, you know what your class schedule is, you're going, you know, and then the semester ends and it's that in-between time. And it's just like, oh man, like you know, you might take a break from your workout or you start eating a certain way. You just like, whoo, it's break time. So I feel like that transitions make it difficult, you know, for me to get back up on my self-care regimen. What about y'all? Head over to that Jamboard, add in, because we just want to share a wealth of our knowledge and experience. So check that out.
That's right.
All right, y'all. So here we go. We're about to play for y'all this 4th webinar that we continue to finally call our B movie, our labor of love. And I hope y'all enjoy it. Stay up with it in the chat as well as the Jamboard, and join us at the end for more discussion. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Nations is a Pan-African network of support catalyzing the growth of cooperative ventures in Black communities throughout the U.S. and the diaspora. We know that the current social, political, and economic circumstances create immense disadvantages to the African diaspora and continent. Repaired Nations creates redress for historic trends of colonization and oppression through cooperative training and development for collective ownership. Our ultimate goal is to help weave together a global network of cooperatively run enterprises that trade amongst each other and create generational wealth for our diasporan families and communities.
Some of the projects we're currently involved in include The Deep, a grocery co-op in East Oakland, NEX means an artist collective that holds monthly open mics and is starting an incubator program focused on LGBTQ+. Divine Minds Think Aligned, another artist incubator focused on supporting Black women. Good Juju, Good Vibes, a custom jewelry and crystal meditation lounge. Holistic Underground, which supports projects empowering change makers, leaders, and organizations. Okanda, which is developing a live-work cooperative complex. Raw Soul Collective, who feeds the community, hosts cultural gatherings, and creates media. Authentic African, a women's clothing collective. The Bee House in Ghana, which assists with repatriation. Legacy of Black Genius, a budding edutainment company, and more.
This year's conference is focused around 3 cooperative principles: autonomy and independence, education, and concern for community. Cooperatives learn as they strive for autonomy and independence, that the world we inherited is increasingly interconnected. Building autonomous zones of liberation within the capitalist system requires relationship, connection, and fellowship. The primary goal for this conference is relationship building. Please set intentions to meet new people, organizations, and ideas. Black people are consistently battling insurmountable odds within capitalist systems that maliciously use us for our genius and labor to build wealth for everybody at the cost of our own lives. For almost 2 years now, the pandemic has underscored, highlighted, and compounded this reality. Thus, the conference committee chose concern for community as an important cooperative principle to highlight this year. We will be tuning into the Black experience in the Gulf Coast in Ghana, exploring and discovering the ways diasporans have been able to thrive, or the ways we've struggled and needed a helping hand. Our third and final highlighted principle is education. We strongly believe that education typically precedes liberation. At this conference, our goal is to honor the learned expertise and experience that Black cooperative projects have amassed during their founding and sustained existence. Collective Courage by Jessica Gordon-Emhart has taught us that pre-existing relationships and sustained education are the key ingredients for successful Black cooperatives in the past. Thank you again for tuning in.
Greetings, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm your host, KANA. Joining me here in the studio is AJMAN.
What's up, KANA?
What's going on?
This is webinar number 4 of a 5-webinar series in Repair Nation's 3rd annual Black Solidarity Co-op Conference. And this webinar is Black co-ops and collectives in the global African diaspora discussing what challenges they continue to face and what support might look like.
The goal of this webinar is to gain a deeper understanding of what co-op development looks like on the ground and how our communities and movements can support through solidarity, mutual aid, and organization.
We are all becoming more familiar with the Google Jamboard, right? We will once again take community notes during this webinar series there. The link can be found in the chat. From your phone or computers, but preferably on your computers, you can create sticky notes where you can write notes for each webinar and its segments.
This conference committee will be using these community-created notes to help inform a bigger closing webinar for this conference. That's going to be held Sunday, October 3rd, 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. Make sure you get that right. This is all to say, make sure you capture all your thoughts as best as you can today, because these are really big topics and we need to hear from you. Tomorrow, we're going to get through all the notes that have been collected throughout the conference on the Jamboard, and we're going to be building our relationships.
That's right. Make sure you're in a good place for internet. Get your snacks, get your tea, get your hydration, and get ready.
The co-ops we're going to be hearing from are the same as each webinar previously in the conference. Mandela Groceries, again, one of my favorite. The Deep Grocery Co-op, Rich City Rides, which is connected to Co-op Richmond, Okanda, Co-op Jackson, and Co-op Dayton.
Whole squad in the building.
So from the start, we have incorporated a just transition framework where we're talking about moving away from the extractive economy that we live in now towards an economy that sustains life, that sustains ourselves, each other, and Mother Earth. We've prioritized climate justice in our work from the very beginning. Our co-ops and projects are really meant to support our communities in preparing for the impacts of climate change and other related crises. We want to do our part to mitigate climate change by developing regenerative practices, both as communities and also through our co-ops, and regenerate practices in our homes and in our workplace. So we want to transition towards zero waste and definitely reduce our carbon footprint. Our survival is dependent on our ability to produce and consume in ways that support each other and support Mother Earth. And that is radically different than what is happening now. And so we, have always advocated ending the constant extraction that exists that is threatening our planet. We hope our co-ops can be examples of sustainable practices. A few direct examples of how climate change and resulting natural disasters have impacted us in our work. I can think of the impact of the weather on the farming production. Mississippi has been experiencing a change in weather patterns, and that impacts the different growing seasons. Growing seasons are shifting and changing here in Mississippi. Our Freedom Farms Co-op has had to deal with food loss, with freezing temperatures for the last few years now, actually. The pandemic also slowed the momentum that was building in 2019 going into 2020 substantially. We shut down the majority of our operations to make sure that we kept each other safe and we kept our neighborhood and our community safe. We shifted work to focus on things related to the threat to our health, right? And the different interrelated aspects of our lives that's interconnected with health, like housing, jobs, education. We began a sewing project with sewn mask and 3D printed mask, along with distributing the sewn mask weekly. And we also initiated the People Strike Coalition to combat the pandemic and the underlying causes. And a lot of the work that went into those things meant there was other work not being done. The kind of like engaging community, having workshops, having sessions, talking about how do we build out the community land trust. Those are things that, we had to pause on. And then the freeze, the beginning of 2021, the polar vortex freeze further exacerbated the water problems that we have here in Jackson. So water is already frequently unhealthy to drink. There are often boil water alerts. And at the time, the city had a water crisis with homes not having running water and water shortages. Even if you could afford to buy water, water wasn't available to buy. And so, a lot of people and families, the elderly, really suffered during that time with the infrastructure not being able to sustain the freeze. And responding to these crises one after another has diverted our work and our resources often.
Okay, so the pandemic. 2020 was definitely a challenging year for everyone globally, but here at Mandela it was a really interesting, challenging, and inspiring time. And I say that because literally overnight we went from our normal routine to suddenly there's lines down the street and everyone's buying so much. So it was like a big impact on our business. And it was a beautiful moment because internally we really bound together and started working together as a very close-knit team. For example, sourcing became really challenging because a lot of our vendors and distributors would be out of stuff because the entire food chain was in high demand. So if eggs, for example, were to run out from one distributor, our egg buyer would be like, I can't get eggs, and talk to the produce buyer, and the produce buyer would be able to get eggs from the produce distributor. And it's just, we were like sourcing in ways that we hadn't previously sourced. So it took a lot of communication, a lot of quick decisions, quick movement. And because this is not the traditional business like hierarchical structure, we were all able to just make the best decision at the moment that that decision needed to be made. So it was kind of I think a beautiful moment internally for our team. But of course it was challenging. Supplies still to this day, in 2021, is still challenging. Paper bags, paper towels, gloves. It's hard to source things still. So it's the pandemic did, cause a big challenge for our business.
Immediately I'm thinking of the fires, because right now every week we have to check the AQI, air quality index, to find out if we can even do any type of outside activities, and when I think of this earth that we borrow from our young people, when I see the youngest kid in a ride and he still wants to go and it smells like tires burning in the air and we can't, he had nothing to do with that. And we end up not being able to do the community healing activities that we do because of climate change and polluting industries that, extract from the earth, extract from our health, and extract all the wealth and leave us with smoke and pollution.
So my greatest challenge is being a cooperator, being a part of a cooperative. I think it's, for me, constant self-awareness, like perpetually being aware of how I'm being in relationship to my coworkers, customers, and the customer experience, the work that I have, long-term visionary type work, and also the mundane task of the day. So the challenge is being aware of all those things in my body, being present, and doing one thing at a time, really. Like just really knowing that multitasking is a myth. So how do we hold all the things and do one thing at a time in the present moment? And not just be busy, but get work done. So for me, that's the constant challenge. And the more I'm aware of that and speak it out loud, the better I become at staying present and getting work done.
We have a number of challenges. Our greatest challenges include slow growth when projects are capital intensive, meaning they require large amounts of investment, large amounts of money. So for example, being able to build the much needed quality, affordable housing on the vacant land that we steward in the community land trust is a challenge without having the type of capital that it takes to build houses from scratch. It requires more resources than what we've had. Another example is getting the People's Grocery and the Ida B. Wells Plaza off the ground. Another challenge is the level of skills that people need in the different areas that we're trying to develop. So engineering skills for the community production cooperative, even farming that we haven't had. And so people have been learning while they're doing, and we have really benefited from the different skill sharing projects and partnerships that we've been a part of. Another challenge is getting people in our neighborhood who have been supportive, but often from the sidelines, to become more actively engaged. People that don't already have the similar thinking and interested in these ideas have been less likely to be actively engaged in the early stages, right? Which is often a challenge when you're in the beginning and work is less visible.
Challenges. So, our greatest challenges with unified power are government and city, county officials, getting them to understand partnership and being able to navigate that terrain in a way that doesn't cause us to appear confrontational, but rather to be able to harness community control of land without appearing anti-government or anti-establishment. That's a huge challenge. It's also a challenge to galvanize people. We recently worked on revising our mission, and our mission now is Proud West Daytonians transforming humanity through collective impact, access, awareness, and establishing quality, affordable housing. Well, building awareness is a challenge because people are generally living in a bit of a matrix where they go through day to day activities, sort of in a rat race and not really looking at the system for how it has manipulated their environment. So we're bringing to light the dilapidation in our community. We have 4,000 vacant homes in our community. We're bringing to light the system structures that have caused those vacancies to exist, whether we're talking about the housing crisis, or the mass exodus of major corporations. And that happened all over industrialized America. So that's a major challenge, to bring those systemic ills to light and then to connect them in individuals' minds so that they can see how the current state of affairs is a result of these big corporations and governmental decisions. It's a tall order, but I believe unified power has the propensity to fill the order.
Brings up some challenges too around, folks wanting to support but not knowing exactly how to support, or feeling like because we're black businesses we just should like give away the shop. It's like, cut somebody a deal, and we are burdened with the hard conversation of having to educate people on, what the business is, and that we got to keep the lights on, and we want to be able to provide these wages for folks, and those are challenges. There's a lot of education and just educating the community around what this is, because we're one of the few cooperatives in Richmond. I think we're the only one, definitely the only cooperative bike shop. The only other cooperatives I could think of are like Atchison Village, which has some exclusionatory practices around how they provided housing for certain folks.
I would say our greatest challenges are not enough people with the consciousness of collectivism, not enough people with a consciousness of anti-imperialism, anti-capitalism, anti-globalization. Not enough people that want to unify, not enough people that understand Pan-Africanism, that understand Black unity, African liberation. So I would say our biggest challenges are our people on the continent and our people in the diaspora who want to be more Western. They aspire to a Western way of life and lifestyle, right? From our brothers and sisters in the diaspora that want to come here and recreate America or Europe when they get here and have an individual way of being and living, or set up a business that is not good for the environment, right? or our brothers and sisters here on the continent who want to engage as well in a more Western way of life and Western practices, right? The skin bleaching, the perming of the hair, investing in clothes and buying clothes, the suits and the ties versus their traditional cloth, right? Bringing down their local industries, right? So all of this, looking to the West, looking to the colonizer is probably the biggest challenge that we face as an organization, as a people.
I think one of the first challenges was that we were doing something that none of us had ever done before in terms of trying to not just buy land, but buy it collectively. And so I feel like the first year was just a learning lesson. We were able to secure a contract, and we were going to sign the contract for a lease to own that Greg did a lot of work on negotiating. And then when they sent us the document that was supposed to be a lease to own, it was a lease. The whole to own part was gone. It was like, what if we had signed that? What if we just assumed that these folks who are also part of the community had worked in good faith and they didn't? And then the second property we were going after, same kind of situation, had negotiated a lease to own. The same week that we were going to actually sign the legitimate lease to own, a developer came into Deep East and like bought up 40, 50 properties at cash. And those were the property we had been negotiating for months was one of those properties. So it's like we're one of our obstacles is the developers, that they have all this money, and money talks. It don't matter how much these people we talk to get what we're trying to do and think it's a beautiful thing. At the end of the day, I guess, somebody comes with $1 million in cash and we're like, we'll get you the whole amount in 20 years. Mm-hmm. Even though they want to work with us, they'll take the $1 million in cash, So that's been one thing. I think the political climate with the city, not really trying to, like, I know there was a lot of us that were advocating, both tenants, rights folks, and homeless advocates were advocating for the city to support, all these land cooperatives and real estate cooperatives that were starting up in Oakland and struggling. Even the ones that have been here for a few years are still struggling. And so we were able to get a fund created that was supposed to be a grant for community land trusts and real estate cooperatives to dip into to get grounded for and just be capital to purchase properties. And it took the city like 2-3 years to even get it started. They're supposed to do it, like when they vote it, it's supposed to be in within a year. It took 2 or 3 years. And people were like, what are you doing? What are you waiting on? And then when it was finally released, there were so many barriers and hurdles to actually get the money, right? I think another kind of barrier too is just having access to the kind of resources that would be necessary for us to make this easier. I think it's really hard for us. Like, we're doing like working double time, just to get where some of these rich people get like in a day. It's taking us a year, I think those are the biggest obstacles that I've seen.
All right, we're back, y'all. And from all of those jewels dropped, we've learned a few things about some of the challenges that we faced growing these cooperatives, like police interaction, and also needing different types of support from the community.
Absolutely. What stood out to me was just the piece around dealing with different personalities,
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need sustainable and culturally relevant responses to our interpersonal conflict. This is a need that will always require addressing in ways that strengthen our collectives as opposed to distracting them or disrupting them. Up next is a special treat, y'all. Ajgad. Ajgad is an East Oakland producer and his music is centered around his quest for ascension while living as a Black man in America. Y'all welcome with me.
Trust me, I'm here right by your side. Right now, breathing this moment in time. You good around me, no need to hide. Know that if I rise, you rise. If I rise, you rise. If I rise, you rise. Hey, I'm a magnet that get active, no I don't snooze. I'm a student of real shit, inner city blues. Inner city walls, blocking my views. Learning meditation, potential unused. My words is worth something too. Can't deny my influence I got on the youth. Currency is not exclusive to loot. Dollars got our hours cause we give it the power. Reaching down to the root like I'm pulling a tooth. Let's talk about it, then go cultivate ours. Ours meaning us, us meaning trust. While we sit and look at each other with disgust. Nasty how they got us thinking that we up. We be swimming in the sewage with no problems, but now we waking up and it's a problem. And it's a problem. Now we waking up and it's a problem. Trust me, I'm here right by your side. Right now, breathing this moment in time. You good around me, no need to hide. Know that if I rise, you rise. If I rise, you rise. If I rise, you rise. If I rise, you rise.
Every day I'm learning lessons, gaining new perspective, working on myself, a lot of positive progression, a beautiful destiny I'm manifesting. Left the mistakes in the past, I'm on a new chapter. Healing from that trauma, yeah, them gunshots was tragic, but I'm still here alive in the flesh, still standing. I got purpose on this planet. Hey, I'ma live my life with passion. High vibrational, always getting active. I can't fuck with you if you hella messy and dramatic. I need peace, I need love only around me. Community and family, prosperity always around we, yeah, the team. We love unity, unity.
Whoa, that was fire, Ash, guys. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. That was so special. I'm telling you, an artist that's an activist is such a special breed. Culture that's grounded in the needs of our people is on a whole nother level.
For sure. It's no. But look, let's now go back to the co-ops as they sketch for us what support looks like for them. Hey, I love doing this, and I'm gonna keep doing it. But hey, let's now go back to the co-ops as they sketch out for us what support looks like for them. Where do you need support locally?
As Okanda?
Yeah.
We need property. We need property. We need landowners who understand the vision, are down to work with us. So if folks know of properties, hit us up. We need property. Empty lots, because we're now starting to activate empty lots and just do pop-ups, just to get the message out to people, let people see the vibe that we're trying to create. So even if it's not something for us to buy, empty lots for us to use and activate. Funders, so that we can compete with these developers who show up with $1 million in cash. We need to be able to be on some kind of playing field with them, and right now it's very unequal, unlevel.
Like black cooperatives? How might black cooperatives across the African diaspora be about?
I think that black people gathering together with the goal of building some form of economics in a legal fashion would just help in general. I think alternatives to the capitalistic, being on the bottom side of capitalism, because that's pretty much where a lot of us are coming from. So someone is actually capitalizing off of us. So being in a position where you can have share in a business and you can bring some type of income would benefit the Black community a lot. It's just an alternative form of living, and it's something that I'm sure that many people didn't think was possible or feasible until they're educated and until they or take the chance and go out there and do it. And what it would do is it would build at least the idea of generational wealth and circulating, make it dollar circulate. Right.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I think that like oftentimes we get very tunnel vision. We don't see what other people are doing. And I think that when we can see more and more of what other networks are doing across the diaspora, then we could, like you said, like we could set up exchange. Mm-hmm. We could say like, hey, can I come over to where you are and learn what you're doing, have an experience of that, and then you could also come and learn what we're doing here. I think more exchange would be good, more cross like pollination, mm-hmm. and support. So like folks who have been in it for longer. Our group is very new, just 2 years in. And so to see from the folks who've been 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I think there's a wealth of knowledge that we often don't know a lot about. I think that like the book clubs have been really helpful for that, and hearing like Jackson Rising and like just all of that information, collective courage. I've learned so much because I just didn't know what people were doing or what they were up to. So that's been really like invaluable. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Where do we find our support? Our support usually comes in the form of our citizenry. We have various ways of reaching out via phone rallies, activities, events, contests. We also have a lot of support nationally, and most of that support comes from introductions. Many times we call someone for one thing, whether it's to find out about their agency and how they've established themselves, but ultimately we are connected with someone who can further our mission and our vision. So most of our support locally comes from relationship building. It's very important to build relationships. And relationships are like movements. Movements move at the speed of trust. Relationships move at the speed of trust. So it's very important that we build trusting relationships where integrity is at the center of those relationships. We try to do what we say we're going to do and be people of our word as much as possible. And that's how we get our support locally.
It's like really explore our creative energy for co-ops. Like a lot of times we explore creative energy for personal outlets, for spiritual reasons, but we can also integrate that into our cooperative business development or cooperative organizing, to be a force within the economy, like actually within it. We get really creative to step outside of it, but we need to also bring that creative energy into it, especially for these kids. So we see some examples of just evolution, and creation.
The network was pretty much already established. As I mentioned before, Aya Jeffers-Fabro, she was the project manager who kind of put a lot of the pieces in place. Repair Nations have played a prominent role in our getting started. Shout out to Greg Jackson, who has gave us a lot of knowledge.
So across America, Black cooperatives, we must connect. We must be together. We must reach out, receive, Like check up on, if we're on social media, make sure we have all the black co-ops on our social media. And maybe we want to take off some of the other stuff in our social media so that the black co-ops come up more on our algorithm. You know, make sure we stay in touch, and when we travel, that we go and we see one another, introduce ourselves. You know, don't be strangers, actually connecting in all ways that we can, even if it's telling someone who they know is coming out to Oakland, tell them to stop by Mandela. You know, just definitely putting out the positive energy, really.
Okay. She kept it simple for us.
Definitely.
You got to reach out to your people. That really is the key to building and bridging these relationships among black co-ops and collectives.
Exactly.
How might black cooperatives across the diaspora be of support for us? Well, reach out. We are located on our World Wide Web at www.coopdayton.com/unified power. I am the executive director, Kenya Baker, and my email is daytonunifiedpower@gmail.com. I welcome you to reach out to me, just build relationship. I perhaps have made some relationships that would benefit one of you, as I'm sure you all have made relationships that would benefit us. Establishing a 15,000 square foot grocery store with 8,000 square feet of retail space has not been an easy feat. So we have undoubtedly experienced some hurdles and some falls that we can help you to navigate and avoid. So I look forward to talking with anyone from the black cooperatives about how we can mutually help one another.
Right. And learning from each other and each other's mistakes is exactly what we need to be doing in order to move forward the work, you know?
True.
Also, I was hearing from them that donations and skill sharing is just such a positive way for us to offer value in supporting each other's cooperatives.
It's interesting. Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Right now is the segment where y'all hop on that jam board. So we're going to give you a second to hop on over there. The link is in the chat. Go ahead and put out what you thought of this webinar, your questions, your feelings, what you want to engage with other people in on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. Speak on how you feel and what you got from this and any questions that you may want to pose to the group. There you have it, folks. We've learned a lot in these last few sessions, and it just stresses the importance of connecting across the diaspora, reaching over to Ghana, reaching over to New Orleans, reaching over to all of these places where we're developing collective economics and collective thought. And I really feel like it's just the beginning, yo.
Yeah, this is definitely just the beginning. And we are so excited for each of you to join us tomorrow as we bring this to a finale. All the groups are going to come back, all the folks that you've heard from this week, and you'll get a chance to engage with them, have conversations, go through the notes and figure out what are our next steps. How do we do what the sister Kenya said and build these relationships and reach out and support?
Yeah, so we're looking out for seeing you. We're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and stay tuned.
All right, take care.
Good
All right, all right. Wow. Whew, I'm so glad we got a chance to see the credits. Usually we end a little bit early and don't get to see everyone that's been involved because this has been quite a production.
Yeah.
What you think about all this?
Oh man, I feel excited. I feel like we're really connecting some dots and really putting the work in so that we can create this foundation of support, so that in the near future, we're having new institutions and new waves of cooperative work so that we can combat a lot of these challenges that we talked about. Especially, one that stuck out to me, the challenge that is affecting us all is the environment. And, in this rush to find green technology and I feel like there's a lot of pressure put on us as citizens to change our ways, when really it's not about the individual alone. It's about the collective, right? And how we choose to change how we relate to the earth. And so I feel like these gatherings are very prime for that shift to happen and to be inspired from one another on how we could find solutions for our own community issues and our world community issues.
Right. I love how this webinar, it starts with some of the challenges and offering that, but then ending on support, because that's really that's the solution, is how do we come together and support each other? The answer is among us. We have solutions to our own problems. And, the problems that have been pushed upon our communities. So that's the question that we want to address in the Jamboard. The link is in the chat, y'all. We keep referring to this because in these virtual spaces, sometimes we have a note taker and whatever notes that you've been able to take, and then this information sort of disappears. So the Jamboard is an opportunity for us to have a centrally located place where everyone can take notes. We can see everyone's stickies, and then tomorrow we can come back to those. So the question that we want to put out, and the question that's going to take us into this next conversation that we're opening up, is what does support look like for you? What does it look like for your collective, for your cooperative? And how would you envision a greater network of support? Again, this is just a sneak peek to a conversation we're going to be having tomorrow. So we're going to open it up on the Jamboard, and in just a minute, we're going to open the conversation up here.
All right, so make sure y'all go head to that Jamboard and let us know how you feeling. And also don't forget to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be us going live and us communicating with our folks live and direct. So I'm excited to have that happen and listen to the insights that we've gained from these last few days and from our collective combined experience in this collective work.
Yeah, I know that everyone's been really excited to get on, and people shouting out where they're from and waving highs across the Zoom room universe. But Sunday is an opportunity for us to sit down, get your coffee, get your tea, get your snacks. We'll be coming together in a space in Oakland for Repair Nations, and we're just going to have a roundtable discussion and go through these notes and see, like, hey, y'all, what are our next steps? What are the themes that are coming out? What are the challenges that we have to collectively create solutions for? So hopefully y'all are jamming in the Jamboard, and yeah, join us tomorrow. Also, can someone drop a link for the Eventbrite? Because if there are people that aren't here that need to be here, I know a lot of times people kind of rotate between like who takes on what role. People have to be with family or work shifts, but we want it to be thicker in here. We want it to be more of the folks, the youth that are involved, the people who are not always, the spokes people for the organization or the collective, they need to be in here too, speaking on their experiences and soaking up these gems. All right, so we are gonna put about 10 or so minutes, maybe 14 minutes on the clock, and just open up the conversation. We can kick it off with support, or any questions or comments, or shouting out the work that you're doing. Yeah, let's see who's up in here. Go ahead and raise your hand and we will unmute you if you want to share. And if it takes too long, we will be volunteering. So be ready, especially those who know me. You know I'm gonna call you out. All right. All right, Nana, yeah. I see white hair wrap banging.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's nighttime here where I am. So I am calling out just to say that I've enjoyed so immensely these last few days, hearing and seeing all that Repaired Nations is about, and just saying that it's just been a beautiful thing to see. It gives me joy at 56 years old, being from so many different spaces in my life, just to see that we are coming together and actualizing what we need to do. It's just a beautiful thing. I just wanted to give props to everybody who is helping and making this happen. I just wanted to just say thank you. I give thanks. I give thanks for you, KANA. I give thanks to Mama Mia, Michael, everyone, Gregory, everyone who's on here, just giving thanks. It's bringing tears to my eyes. It really is, because it just makes me feel. My grandson is 6 years old. He's having problems in school because he's not keeping his mask on all day. And I try to tell his teacher it's not natural for him to have a mask on. And people just don't realize that the world that we've created now and we've allowed to happen has been so degraded that now we're trying to put children in trouble for not having a mask over their faces. But I see hope in what you are doing, Repaired Nations. And I want to give thanks that things will be well. They will be well with all of the fire that's coming at us.
Thank you, sis. Thank you so much. Sister Nanaya is coming from Ghana. This is why it's nighttime there. And you guys can run back through webinar 2, I believe, where we got to see her space develop and really just give us the sense that things move at a pace of humanity in certain spaces, and not just simply like, hey, snap your fingers and it's done. So we got to experience that, and we appreciate you as well. Let's see who else is on here. And y'all, again, we have about 10 minutes to share. So please feel free to do so in as concise of a time as you can. A minute or so or less. Let's say 30 seconds to a minute, because we want to do as much go around as we can, and then people could get back on if folks, don't chime in. So appreciating everyone on here. Anyone else want to share, talk about either your challenges, any comments that you had about the webinar, network of support, where you get your support from, ideas of how other people that are in need of support can maybe gain support based on some of your experiences. Again, this is just a sneak peek. Tomorrow we're gonna go in. All right, I see a hand up. Yes, let me get you. Kenya, go ahead.
I just want to say again, a big shout out to Repair Nations. It's phenomenal that you all are convening this space and making it possible for us to come together and to network. And I'm asking that everyone that's on this call, please show up on my calendar. I put my link inside of the chat. It's critical that we do connect. And we can definitely create a greater synergy around cooperatives and Black solidarity when we come together. So let's connect. Let's find out what we're doing in these urban cores to turn this system upside down, as my brother said, to put us over profit. We can do it if we come together and work collectively. And I'm really, really geeked about you all doing this work. Like, this is phenomenal. And for you all to offer this as a free opportunity, that's really important. It says a lot about your organization and your agency. So thank you.
For sure, appreciate that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna chime in because I don't see another hand up yet. And just say that, you know, from the first webinar, I think we kicked it off just letting folks know, like, this is a long history and legacy of Black liberation. And we need to be understanding that and rooted in that and know that it goes through waves. You know, it may feel like there's a lot of momentum now, that momentum pulls back. And I just encourage us to know that, like, sometimes, you know, we get our feelings hurt and you know, sometimes even our heart broken in this work. And the more that we come back to the table and allow ourselves to join back up, it really is a testimony of our ability to keep this movement going. It didn't start today, it didn't start yesterday, you know, it didn't start 10 years ago. We come from, you know, hundreds of years of legacy of mutual aid, of maroonage, of coming together and doing exactly what we need to do and exactly what we're doing now. And so a mutiny, I see you, Deb, right? And yeah, I just want us to keep that energy alive and that spirit alive, and understanding that our co-ops and collectives are not the end all be all, but that they're connected to a larger movement. And the more that we ground ourselves in that, I believe the more we'll have longevity in the work.
I agree wholeheartedly. You know, we have to develop in our understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it, right? And really get aligned with that and stand in that, you know, and be loud about it, you know, so that those who are not as sure as to, you know, what solutions are or where to go next, they can hear those voices that have been doing the work and that have been doing the introspection in order to do this work wholeheartedly. They can listen to them and decide for themselves, you know, which way to go. I mean, we already have what capitalism can do, and just individualism more so can do. So how do we basically as loud as that, so that folks can have more of a choice and how they want to operate and be a part of their communities that they live in.
Absolutely. I see Aletta or Alita, and I am going to unmute you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, free to land. As we say, for those of us connected to the work that not only Chokwe Lumumba has done, but the Malcolm X grassroots movement, which was started by those that were doing land projects through not only Black Panthers, but the Quilembos, Palenques, and Maroon villages that we are now starting in this word called cooperatives. We're the parable of the sower, so we just wanted to thank you all as Repair Nation. You know, as Black women doing organizing, knowing this was our legacy for the work we were doing, getting arrested for, building community, living together, and planting and growing our children, we knew this was our right. And we're glad to be connected to you all. We've been trying for 5 years to have our cooperative intentional community. And so being pushed out a lot of times as Black women that stand strong with our hands on our hip from the Legacy of Collective Courage book, we tell the truth. And sometimes that has divided us. So I'm thankful that you are unifying. And with those that may not be there yet, like myself and the 10 women in our group and the 100 on a waiting list. And we want to invite everybody to come to our Richmond People's Movement Assembly. The reason is we only hear from certain people sometimes that have been able to have that access. And this is a time now we can talk to each other. So a People's Movement Assembly is happens everywhere. It's not just in the US. It came out of something called the World Social Forum, and it allows us to say what our problems are, what our solutions, and what are we gonna do about it. For us, we hope everyone can come to Richmond. It is hybrid. You can come to Unity Park right there in Richmond where we're doing this in person. And that way, not one person speaks, but everyone speaks. We don't know each other like that. And that's where the fear comes in, is they divide us to think that, you know, gerrymandering and you got more and Olympic oppressions. So we're hoping people can come through. And if you can't, please be on the Zoom for the hybrid for November 6th. I put the link in the chat. Frida Land, thank y'all.
Frida Land says, appreciate you being here. And thanks for putting that link in the chat as well. Folks, drop all your links and also bring them to the Jam board too, so we can really capture them after this Zoom has ended. All right, who's got next? I know, I said it's got next. We can't hear you, gotta unmute.
Alafia, y'all, peace and love, peace and love. Whew. I'm gonna let you know, like straight up the bat, like the conference itself was a challenge because of the times that we're in, you know? And the reason why I'm saying that is because like the title says, repaired nations, right? We're all repairing right now. And it's dialectical, you know? So Crystal House is a housing cooperative that's been out here in the real estate world capitalism of New York City, you know? And we've been talking about shared property and the dismantling of private ownership for over 20 years. It doesn't really make you many friends in the area, especially with Black and brown classism in New York City. You know, you see a lot of these folks, a lot of neo-colonials using their identity and weaponizing it against our communities. And so it's been a real challenge, to say the least. But this is a legacy, like y'all been saying, since the Barber Wars, you know, since we've been trying to end white supremacy and Western expansionism for over 2,000 years. And so what gives me support is knowing that we're always here. We're always the pockets of resistance. Like, you can't stop this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, capitalism's gonna fall. It just goes against nature. It's just a matter of time, you know, and these are the systems that are supporting the ways of being that we need to be, you know? So whether you call it a solidarity economy, whether you call it a socialist economy, whether you call it a power with economy, you know, it's just a different way that we need to be. And we are already being it, you know, and that's why the state is so adamant about the genocidal machine. It targets our men, it targets our women, it targets our queer folks, our trans folks in our community, because we're showing a different way of being. You can't stop that. But I really appreciate you all holding down this space, you know, because it really is rejuvenating to see new seeds, old seeds, you know, recapitulate itself, you know, and reincarnate itself and reclaim itself. And I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Appreciate you, appreciate the view. All right, who's got next? We're pretty much at time. So unless anyone has anything that they really want to jump in here and say, y'all bring it to the Jam board and bring it to the conversation tomorrow. because that's what it's all about, right? All of these little snippets, they're coming together so that we can all have access to this information, right? We're talking about cooperativizing and democratizing our information so that one organization doesn't grab it and take it away. And then you got to call them and say like, hey, where are the notes? Can I get the notes? You know, there are people there that I want to, you know, reconnect with. So go on the Jamboard and see what everyone is saying. You have full access to that. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Same time, 11 to 1:30 Pacific. We're going to have our Repair Nations artists come through and bring that culture forward and give us an opportunity to, you know, get into it, get that culture, get into it, get that culture so that we can, you know, stay grounded in heart, stay grounded in the love that we have for this work. All right. Anything else you want to close us out with, Aj? We can't hear you, Mom. Oh,
Love yourself, love your neighbor, and just always continue to grow and challenge the status quo. You know, like why do we, you know, capitalism? What does it mean to you, and how does it apply in your life? And is it a good force? Is it a force of good or a force of bad? You know, just for yourself. Understand, I know for me, this process of working with Repair Nations has had me just be very reflective on my how I participate in capitalism and individualism, and just rethinking, unlearning and relearning. So don't be afraid to do that. So.
Absolutely. Do that thinking, do that reflecting, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Peace, 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 peace.